Everyone's kerfuffling.
Hello, everybody. Welcome here to another kerfuffle. 3 men and a Proptech baby. Here with my compadres in crime, if that's the way to look at it, Mr. Richard Durrant and Paul Morgan. Gentlemen, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, well done. You did that right. The pubs have been open all week, though, so that's acceptable. Okay. Look at you both.
We both spoke at the same time the first time, and now we're both pausing for each other.
Seamless. This is brilliant.
I know I was also in the pub last night, so I've not really got too much to add.
Yeah, as I've always said to you, this is meant to be a short, snappy overview of the best Proptech and suppliers that we see out there. So yeah, let's kind of stay on message, guys. Stay on message. Right, today I've got a little surprise for you, and that's got me into trouble in the past. We have Milton Janosch's KeyWhere solution for managing your keys. Always a perennial problem with for obviously estate and letting agents here, and I've seen this go into a couple of our clients. I think I'm right in saying none of us have actually seen this video, so Milton could have done us a complete surprise and sent us over anything. We're going to just
How did that get there?
Yeah, exactly. But we do have the power to edit it. So if it's okay with you guys, rules are, again, I think it's about 20 minutes he's got talking through, giving us an overview of that. You just shout out stop when you want me to. If you can think of if there's something that you think stands out as a problem with the solution, or obviously, as we're hoping, much more positively, that you can spot an opportunity or want to comment on to say how good it is. That all makes sense?
Yep.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. Just give me a shout because you know my skills here. Just give me a shout if the video and audio doesn't play straight away. There's the lovely Milton.
Hello and welcome to KeyWhere. So today I'm just going to do a little demonstration on our KeyWhere solution, which is called KeyWhere. I've split my screen into two so you can kind of see what's happening with the hardware as we interact with the software, which is on the right of your screen. On the right of the screen. Now it all really comes down to what these are in my hot little hand here, which are Rfid tags, which is radio frequency identifiers. And the way that KeyWhere works, it allows us to tag this to a set of the keys for a property that you're selling, managing, tenant finding, and by allocating this to KeyWhere and saying this key is for 10 Smith Street, 129 Keeble Road, every time you interact with the software, it will then interact with the hardware and vice versa. So as you go through, we'll know all the status of our keys, what's overdue, what's on loan, what's being followed up, what's missing, what's on the wrong hook. So KeyWhere will always know exactly where your keys are, so you will know exactly where your keys are. So as we go through, it'll start making more sense. And as I go through, we'll sort of point out a few of the greater features that KeyWhere provides. So looking at the KeyWhere product on your right-hand side of your screen there, and what you're kind of greeted with is your dashboard. Dashboard essentially shows you exactly what's happening with your keys. It's color-coded, tells you which ones are missing, overdue, out, on the wrong hook, any panels that need attention that aren't syncing to the Wi-Fi or aren't online will be displayed here on your dashboard. And as you go through, you can kind of see what's happening with your keybook. So rather than having a whole massive paper keybook, you'll also see your digital keybook, which gives you your current loan. So again, more saving time on rather than flicking through massive amounts of books and paperwork to see which one hasn't been signed back in. You can always just go to your keybook and find exactly what's relevant. Key panels is an interesting screen that I really love. It gives you a complete real-time reconciliation, what's happening with the keys. And as you can kind of see here, I've got my KeyWhere mini panel and my carry case panel, which is also reflected on the software side of things. You can kind of see they're mirroring each other in terms of the status of the keys. You can see there's overdue one here. There's two that are out. There's also one that's on the wrong hook. And you can see that that's relevant to the carry case. What I really love is when you interact with the panel, so I'll just take one off, it says it's missing. So if I were to go in there and I was looking at keys from my office or my work from home office, I can actually see what's happening live in real time with my keys in my office, which is great, particularly that we know in this kind of, COVID pandemic and who knows what we're going to be after. It gives you another level of complete oversight with your keys. So a good example of a benefit there would be if you were to go into an office purely just to give keys over for maintenance or something like that, you could absolutely 100% guarantee that the keys are actually in the office exactly where they are. So you wouldn't be wasting your time driving in to find out that someone had signed them in but actually put them in the wrong hook or left them in their handbag and so forth. And as we kind of go through, all your
Can I just stop there one moment, Simon?
properties,
Yeah.
this is a neat feature as well.
Yeah.
So again, correct me if I'm wrong. My experience is, keys have always been an issue in offices, but also as much as more often than not, it's a simple error, which is they're tagged up incorrectly, or you've got two number 23s on the board, or number 23s put down on number 21, but the number tag has slipped out of the key ring. So just, in its most basic element, it feels to me that it's a solution from a genuine problem rather than a made up problem.
Yeah, like sometimes we do see a few of those, don't we? Where, let's be honest, you're trying to squint a little bit to see the use of the relevance of those to most agents.
Yeah.
Whereas initial thoughts there, Paul. I mean, for me, again, we always talk about this. Within literally a couple of screens, you can see this has been quite well thought out. You could see the actual physical panel. I must admit, I thought it was like a nuclear launch kind of thing going on behind him, or was a big Doctor Who fan. But actually, when you saw the panel on their UI matching back to that, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? And you can see the way that's been thought through quite clearly.
Yeah, it's very intuitive.
Cool. Okay. And the other thing we should just point out, by the looks of it, then obviously it's accessible on Chrome. He's doing it on there. So the nice thing there is anybody anywhere can gain full access to full cloud-based system, which of course I know we shouldn't be particularly surprised at these days, but it's amazing how many solutions aren't still fully cloud-based.
Yeah, it does mean that if you were in a rush and you had to grab a set of keys, you could, as you walk to the car, get your mobile phone out and check the keys out. Say, "Hey, I've got them."
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about the fact that you've got to ask somebody to say, "Check these keys out for me," or anything like that, because it's all on a web page. It makes it easy for that check-in, check-out process.
But also, as we're in this, work from home, or a proportion of our staff are working from home, and lots of businesses are splitting the teams into, office team, viewings and listings team, and then home team. And if somebody gets positive on COVID, that you just swap the teams in. What it really does well is that conversation in the office, which used to take place going, who's got keys for 1 Acacia Avenue, you can clearly see whether they're in, whether they're out before you leave your home to go and pick them up, or whatever you're doing, as opposed to driving to the office, going to the key cupboard, looking for them. It just gives you visibility of what's there right before you book the viewing. It might be that Simon's left them. He had a viewing there last night at 5 o'clock. I've got a 6 o'clock, but Simon's got 6:15. He's going to go somewhere else. It just gives me a little bit more insight.
And you can have the most robust technical solution in the world, but if you still don't have people working against you, either by not editing it or everything else, this obviously has the auto tag feature where as soon as you take it off, of course, it's registering that the key is missing at least. And as Paul said, because it's cloud-based, you're giving them every chance to at least do the right thing and log who it's out with and where.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Should we go on?
Yep.
As well as you can actually hide the key numbers. So rather than people sort of going, "Hey, I'm going to check out whatever key that is," and just go to that hook because you might still have them numbered. If you press that, it will then show me, Milton, because I'm logged in as myself, that there will log me looking at that key. So if that key were to go missing, and even though it is missing, I'm 99.99% sure that if Milton looked at the key, took it off the key panel, that he would be the one responsible for not just taking out that key and bringing it back. So let's just go take it alone. Simply just go to your dashboard or log in the top left, hit new loan, you just type in whatever property it is, it starts searching or aggregating the data. I click that key. It could be a singular key, it could be for reviewing or inspection. You can click multiple keys if you are doing it for someone who's taking it for smoke alarm compliance. You add those keys. This is a great cool feature as well. You can actually put booking alerts in there. For example, if you were taking out keys that belong to a block management, for example, and you need to make sure you take the master key, which was on another hook, because you don't want to get there and realise you've just taken a flat key and not the actual master key for the building. It will alert you to that as well. So this helps you trigger. You're a busy negotiator, you're a busy property manager, business owner director. You put all these defaults in place to help KeyWhere manage your keys for you. Fine, so I'll just get those keys out. All your data will be in there in terms of your staff, your borrowers, key numbers, and addresses. And I'm going to give this key to Sat to Milton, the trade person, for another 2 days. We hit borrow button. Now, as we hit borrow, you'll notice here that's a cool feature as well. Now, that feature is purely there. You can see it flashes blue for the panel, the key you're about to take off, and that little flashing blue one is the key you take. Why is that important? It's because if you've got a big, large agency and you've got 5, 6, 7 panels, some of our clients have, I think, 13 panels. Our largest one is 55 panels, a big portfolio. It's really important to go, when you go into the key room, key cabinet, going, which panel is the key on? Because I'm looking at 100.
I mean, that's really nice, isn't it? Just as a really simple point there, it's not allowing, it's almost like, okay, you could go and just check for the normal number and everything else, but it's even making it blindingly obvious so that there's going to be fewer human mistakes.
I really like it. It's very basic. It's very simple. It doesn't seem like there's lots of cost save and time save, but all of these little stuff they keep doing, which makes your lives easier, help avoid unnecessary mistakes, don't they? Or the embarrassment when you do turn up and pretend the keys are damaged rather than the wrong set you've picked up.
But not every solution, Rich, does it? It has to be about AI or blockchain, all this really clever stuff. So often those ones that, in my experience, we've seen it everywhere, but in this industry it's so obvious. Why would you not have done it that way? And it's bringing together that technology in a really simplistic fashion.
Yeah, and it's also, in my opinion, is it enables you to audit very quickly, doesn't it? How many agents do? And in my 24 years of agency, unless there was a real problem where we may have audited, how often do you audit? You've got all of your keys there, and it's completion day where the vendor turns up for their keys on what's supposed to be a really great moment of happiness. We've got our dream home, and you spend half an hour whispering out of the back because you can't find the key.
Yeah. How many review sites do you see for estate agents where keys are mentioned in there as being an issue? It's a pretty recurring theme, isn't it?
Yeah, and this enables anybody to just, whether it's a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, to just look at what's missing and have a conversation in the, even if it's a morning meeting, right, there's 7 blue tags here. Who's got the keys for X, Y, and Z? Oh, yeah, they're in my dashboard because I did a viewing at 6:15, or, so-and-so's got the keys because they did a viewing there last night, but they're on a day off in lieu today and we haven't got the keys. So let's phone them now at 8:30 in the morning. They can drop them back in rather than phoning them at 2:45 because we've got a viewing there at 3:00. These mistakes shouldn't happen, but I'd be amazed that many agents can say them conversations don't happen on a weekly basis.
It must be nice for anyone looking at this as well. What did they say there? Was it 35 panels was their biggest agent? I mean,
13, I think he said, didn't he?
I thought I heard him say, well, either way, though, you've got scalability in there, haven't you?
Yeah.
Cool.
Quick easy and go, it's this panel and you need to take this key. It's still flashing blue. You'll see there, it's going to sync now that I've taken the key off and it's gone hard blue. So again, the status has changed from flashing blue. This is the key you need to take. This is the key that now on loan. And you didn't see it there, but I've actually just got an email and a text message from KeyWhere. So you'll get it from your respective office. It'll be a white labeled email to say that transaction has taken place. you'll notice on the right-hand side of the software to go straight to our key book when it reloads the screen. So that key is now checked out. It updates the key book as well. So imagine we've given this to a contract, we're doing a viewing, doing an inspection. You can kind of see it's pretty easy. So the KeyWhere app, which I'll give you a quick look under in a second, it has the same functionality, has a similar layout. You just say what key you're taking, who's taking it, how long they're taking it for, and create the loan. You go to the panel, it tells you which panel and which key on which panel to take. It goes hard blue, you get a transaction, and it takes place. Now, all those reminders now kick into play. And all those transactions that we talk about, whether it's a key that's going to a contractor, it's a reminder, all live in with your message center. So they've already pre-loaded messages that merge your contractors, your staff, the key, the number, when it's due back. For your rentals messages, if you've got sales properties, it also tracks commercial properties as well. So every time one of these transactions take place, this is the loan that happens when someone collects it. They get this email and they get this SMS, and you can choose between your email and SMS. As you go out to control costs, there is a small cost of 4p per SMS, but I would argue that maybe it's worth the KeyWhere system logging those transactions and doing the reminders and doing all the follow-ups for your overdue keys. So let's just fast forward here a second, and we've got a staff member contractor. They've taken out the key and they're about to bring it back. And most of the time, staff can always probably know where it goes because they just took it out for a viewing and such. But if you've got a big bunch of keys that come in from a contractor per se, and you don't know where they live, that's great, because it doesn't really matter, because as we spoke about at the start, because KeyWhere logs this key as Smith Street living on a specific hook that you've allocated it to, it knows where Grex lives. So all you need to do is just ask KeyWhere by putting it on the symbol of the KeyWhere panel, and it will tell you where it lives. And see how I struck it here, but it also tells me to put it on that panel. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is you don't have to say swipe it on the right panel that it belongs to, because they're all interconnected. They know which panel it lives on because they're speaking to each other as well. Now, the cool thing about it, you'll notice here, I've done it on purpose. You kind of see there's a light on blue flashing here. It's fast placing blue because someone has actually put that on the wrong hook. Because KeyWhere knows that this hook or this set of keys belongs over there, it knows it's saying, if I were to hang it on the wrong hook, it says, well, slow pulsing blue is the wrong hook. Fast pulsing blue is the right hook. So I put it on the wrong hook. Whoops, that's okay. I put it on the right hook, and that checks it in, obviously, when the internet goes in. I'll put that on there. Good. That works. And same likewise. But you can always just swipe on the KeyWhere panel and ask where it lives as well. You'll notice there's a key that is purple. That status is now overdue. But you can also see here in the reminder section, it will do all your overdue messages as well. Now, that's kind of most of the statuses, but there is one last one that you've probably seen on both the panels there. It's that red flashing light, which means a key has gone missing. The idea behind it is we're trying to encourage people to do the checkout procedure, which is what key, who's it going to, how long they've got it for, create the loan. We saw that before, quite easy. So that's the whole premise of it, make it nice and easy for people to use KeyWhere so they can always have real-time reconciliation. However, if a key is, for some reason, for example, you've got a fast-paced negotiator who's knows where keys live, and he was just like, you know what, I'm just going to take 10th Street off the hook and go straight to the view, and I'll be back in a second. I'm not going to sign that. That's fine. Now, there's a couple of deterrents that you can leverage in the system to sort of encourage behaviour. I wouldn't say shame, but you can call it shame if you want. It's up to you. So the first one is, if I was to lift a key and I knew this was 10th Street, I was going for a quick viewing, the first thing the KeyWhere does, it goes red, starts flashing red. No, not a big deterrent. However, you can actually set alarms in the system. They're currently disabled, but they'll go off in time with the actual beeping or flashing of the red flashing light. It doesn't seem like much, and the volume is relatively loud. And you can adjust the volume and brightness as well as other things in the panel. but it's probably more annoying than anything. And the only way to stop it is to put it back in the hook. And to stop it from happening is the preventative measure of just check it out, which is quite simply those 3 steps. Now,
Can you pause it?
someone,
I really like that feature. It's such a simple way of getting people to do the right thing, by annoying everybody else. But also, I know it doesn't happen very often, but if your branch is broken into and somebody pinched all the keys, just taking one off, triggering an alarm noise would suddenly cause the burglar to panic.
I was going to say it just before, Paul. I didn't know whether I was overstretching it. Where, just that ability to, if suddenly in the middle of the night you suddenly started getting text messages and emails coming through saying that, your kid. Well, it's like, well, who's in the office or what's happening there? It's not the reason to buy it, but it certainly would be a nice beneficial peace of mind, wouldn't it, to have that in place?
Yeah. If you suddenly had 5 emails at 3 a.m. because someone had taken off 5 keys and you weren't expecting it, you'd be straight on the phone. 999. My office has been broken into.
But would you use it as a bit of your valuation pitch? If you were going around, whether that's a tenant, whether it's a landlord, whether it's a vendor, whether or not you're going to act on it, by demonstrating that you've got the process in place where if you are broken into and it takes their key, which has got all of their assets in it and their kids and all the rest of it, that you're going to get a text message which alerts you and then you'll alert them.
Yeah.
Whether you do it or not, it could form part of a valuation pitch.
You're showing best practice, aren't you? You're showing your thoughts about it, and more importantly, you're more than likely, if your competitors don't have this kit, going to catch them out, aren't you? For a good top, they're not going to know how to respond to that, are they? Why are they saying this? Why are we being asked this?
It's amazing. I'm really loving the demo because all the questions I'd written down beforehand and wrote down as the demo's gone on is answering. It's not only is it a good demo, it's a really simple and good system.
Well,
I think
not everyone does demos like me, Paul. That's the first thing you need to.
Yeah, that's the point I was making. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So play on.
Yep.
When to go look at that kit, goes flashing red. It then starts beeping. We also can send a message from your rentals or sales keys. Doesn't matter if the key goes missing, so it can be sent to your director, your branch manager, within 3 to 5 seconds. The text pretty quick, which means they'll get an instant digital notification saying that key's gone missing, and most likely it'll probably hit your phone before it even goes out of the office at the front door. And on top of that, like I mentioned before, we can actually track who's looking at those keys at any point in time, and you can also do that via the actual dashboard. You can kind of see who has it last. You can check with them. You can make a phone call and so forth, which is quite cool. Now, as we go through, we can then look at the back end of the system, and that is all of your tinkers and switches. So you can kind of track your sales, rentals, commercial keys. You can have key numbers, prefixes, custom images that you can load the actual data or keys into the system for visual reconciliation. We can also do the panels, customize the panels for checkout flashes, fading panels. That's another great question that comes up. You can kind of see they are quite bright. LED items have a 3-year warranty, but you can choose the brightness. Let's just do that quickly. You can kind of see it's still dulled it down, but most importantly, just like any kind of device, you can have a fade out of inactivity after 1 minute. So it will go into sleep, but it will still be active. And to bring it back to life will be just take out a loan or bring back the keys and interact with the panel, and the panel will light up and come back to life. In terms of all your data, it will already be in there. So well before any of your customers integrate with KeyWhere as a key management solution, we will have all their property data, all their staff, all their borrowers, and key numbers. Anything to do around key transactions will already be sitting inside the software. All we really need to do is get the panel to them, get it synced to their office Wi-Fi or their work from home environment, wherever they're managing their keys. And from there, we'll help them allocate keys. It's relatively straightforward. I say that because I've done it hundreds of times. However, I hung about 555 keys sort of middle of last year when we came out of lockdown down in Brighton. took us about an hour and a half because we had a system and a process. So we'll guide everyone through that process. Other questions that do come up. How long are the hooks? How many does it hold? Let's take this little hook out for a second. So you can kind of see here, we've got a hook. It does fit 2 on that hook. It does fit a 3rd fob, but traditionally it's built to have your management per se. If it's a let and manage property, a managed set and a viewing set, or your marketing set, whatever you like to call it, on the hook. And your tenant set is typically out with your actual, your current tenancy. A lot of people do divvy up the colours, so they might have a light blue for their managed, like their main colour for their agency, and like a sort of, I guess, a secondary colour, might be a grey or a black, for their second fob, which will be a visual identifier of which set is actually on the hook as well. So you can do that as well, which definitely helps with knowing exactly what the keys are on which hook, as and when the keys are interacting with the panel and the software itself. In terms of other cool stuff that's happening, we do have the GPS location. It's actually in works at the moment. So that will be released, hoping for October. It was pushed back a little bit with COVID, but apparently we are on track for that. So that will be quite cool. And I will give you just a quick look under the app for a second. So let me just load up my phone. Share my screen. Let's wait for that to come to life. Perfect. It's broadcasting. All right. So you'll just log into KeyWhere. You can get it from the Google Play Store / App Store. So KeyWhere app. You log into it. It's the same credentials, username, password as the desktop version as it is your mobile version. You can see all your status of your keys and such. You can go in and configure your Wi-Fi, set up your Wi-Fi, your panel order, all those things through the app as well. And you actually do your allocation to the app because you'll be standing next to the panel. You don't want your whole computer set up next to you. You can kind of see what lanes you have currently. You can do reservations as well to make sure that no one takes out the keys when you're kind of doing organising refurbishments or maintenance, etc. But the cool thing is, if I can just get back to the main panel. Now, what you're looking at there, for example, it could be, let's just talk about your exterior contractors. So just for a moment, I'm a contractor. You've given me 2 sets of keys. Now, also you can reserve keys as well. So there's a section where you can have a QR code printed next to your KeyWhere panel. Now, depending on how honest and the kind of relationship you have with your contractors, you can create a office-specific KeyWhere QR code that can be stuck right next to the panel. If that particular contractor has a smartphone, they can just scan it with their phone. It will give them limited access to the reserve keys you've given them, and they can actually just take out the reserve keys by themselves by a two-factor verification with limited access to the data you've provided to take those keys out. Why is that important? Because if you've already reserved them, your staff don't technically have to go get them. They can actually go get them themselves, which helps that little bit more efficiency. But imagine I am that contractor who's just taking out the keys on my own behalf from your office. I'm at a site and I'm looking at 3 or 4 different sets of keys. I load up my KeyWhere app and I don't know which keys which because you've just given me keys with fobs. There's no identifier on them whatsoever. We can send all that information by email, access instructions and such. Or if you want to go for a little bit more level of security through KeyWhere, if they're unsure which keys to use and they're standing outside of 156 Clegg Road and they want to know which keys to use, all they need to do is go to KeyWhere app, which is what you can see on screen. Click that little KeyWhere button down the bottom. Little scan comes up and they need to tap the fob. So imagine I'm actually tapping the fob to the back of my phone. And what's happening there is actually bringing up which key I've actually got in my hand. So from a contractor's perspective, they would be seeing just the loan they have or the key that they have in their hand. And they'll be looking for 156 Clegg Road because that's the one that they're about to carry out their maintenance for. Outside of that,
That's clever, isn't it? That scanning.
Yeah, do you want to pause it?
Yeah.
I'd actually written down on here, you know, I think it'd be wonderful if you had an app so you could grab a key, hold the key next to your phone, and not just automatically check it out. And this is so close to that, isn't it? You know, being able to scan the key, and he had the reserve button on there, so the contractor or anybody could just reserve that key and take it out with them. So, so yeah, it's almost there as a process. It is so simple though to use.
And he also mentioned GPS tracking, didn't he?
Well, that was
Which,
interesting. So a couple of the one of the referred actually Milton over to an agent, quite a large agent, who was absolutely certain that that was what they wanted to have in there. What they Milton, as he's highlighted, didn't have it in straight away, but they were blown away enough by the actual what it could do at the moment, and then knowing that they were going down this route of developing it. I mean, that's going to be the whole kit, isn't it? When it's there together, that's got all that kind of native functionality you expect almost from a phone and an app on your phone in this arena, isn't it?
yeah, it just makes life easy. You're never going to stop, in my opinion. You're never going to stop that, you know, negotiator going home with the keys in the pockets, putting the keys in the dashboard of the car. You're never going to stop that. But if it's got a GPS where you can go, right, we know that Paul had the viewing and Paul's got the keys because it's showing up on a GPS, you know, in the car park or wherever it may be, it's just very easy to resolve.
How much cocking around must go on with, you know, it's one thing as in that earlier stage where we saw very easily is to say those keys are lost or anything else, but it's the process following on with that ordinarily, isn't it, that must take absolutely ages to resolve a lot of the time, whereas a quick look at this and you find out straight away, don't you?
I'm sure there's a lot more organised agents than I ever was, but what I can tell you is, you know, on that 3:30 viewing, you're on the phone at 15:15, it's 10 minutes away, you're running into the key room. If that key is not there, you're going to be late. If that key is not on the tag, you're not going to make your viewing. When that vendor comes in on the morning of completion, and I'm sure lots of agents have got great processes for it now, but it was only at the point they turned up and went, hi, it's Mr. and Mrs. Smith coming to collect the key for 1 Acacia Avenue, where you went out the back and went, shit, anybody know where his key is? Who had it last on the viewing 4 months ago?
But did you notice on the software demo earlier, there was a reservation tab, so you could reserve a key. So I don't know if the software links to the CRM or anything like that, but if you know you've got a viewing and you're going to need the keys, you could link it to your diary and reserve the keys for that point. Equally, if you've got a withdrawal coming up or a completion, you could reserve the keys so that they should be in the panel for that time.
What would be really sorry, carry on, Simon.
I was just going to say is that my understanding is that they were talking to the CRM companies, but I don't think it was there at the moment. But we'll get an update on that to put on the back of the video when we share it to get some clarity.
What would be really interesting, and I haven't seen it, but I may have missed it, is if you could put a length of time that you're likely to have the keys out for. Because it's all very well me taking the keys at 10 o'clock for a 10 o'clock viewing. Paul looks at the diary and there isn't anything in there for 10 o'clock, so he presumes the keys are going to be available. But if I've got a run of appointments after that, the chances are I'm not going to drop them back. So if you could put a period of time, I'm going to have these keys for 8 hours. It just alerts Paul to the fact that the keys aren't there, and if he needs them urgently, he needs to give me a call.
Yeah, particularly when you think about lettings viewings. Often with lettings viewings, the viewers, let's say you arrange to meet, you're in an urban area, you arrange to meet the applicant who's going to view the properties. You go and show them one property, and prior to the appointment, you might say, you know, can you give me an hour? If you get an hour off them, then you know you can show them 3 properties in that time. And they've booked to see the first one. Now, over that first 20 minutes where you're showing them the first property, you get a feel for what they like, what they don't like, and you know from your stock, well, if they like these things, they're really likely to like this second property. So if you've got half a dozen keys in your car, where you can just take them straight to that second property and let them in, then you know that's a really good experience, because it shows that you're paying attention, that you're showing them the properties that they're likely to want to rent, and equally it saves a lot of time. doing lots of multiple viewings for individual applicants. This allows you on a morning to say, right, I'm going to those 7 properties. Chances are I'm going to need these 20 sets of keys. You grab them and you go, and equally you can find your keys quickly with the app. So it's just a really simple way of working with any type of agency business, no matter how they run.
But without that level of chaos that there would have been previously.
Yeah. If I've got 20 sets of keys in the car and someone says, can you give me the keys for number 7 Acacia Avenue? It's like, oh, bloody hell, which one's that? With this, just go, right, yep, that's it, there you go.
And
Simple.
I think you're a bit unfair there, Rich, talking about how disorganised you were as a business. I'm already thinking about getting a panel from the Whale family. I mean, this is tailor-made just to know where everything is. I think he's selling himself short here just in the world of property.
Yeah, and Paul, are you suggesting my technique of an envelope with a set of the details with the address in and then the key put on side isn't very secure?
I'm not suggesting anything. We both worked for agencies that had, we'll always say that they had the best processes going, but you and I know occasionally things went wrong.
A can-do attitude is how we like to do it. Anyway, we'll deal with GDPR next week. Right, let's play on. We've got a couple more minutes, then we'll do a summary.
Use KeyWhere. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I hope to hear from you soon. Take care.
Well, that feels like I'm not going to let that stream for the next 2 minutes. He was finished anyway there. Okay, cool. So it finished up anyway there. Cool. Okay, so let's just summarize again then. So in terms of big tick in terms of just organization, security, again, doing more than you've got in any other solution I've seen around in the marketplace. Yes, a nice to have would of course be the CRM integration. That's possible with the open APIs and things like Rfid Foundation's platform. So we'll get an update. Something to remember, by the way, guys, if you're watching this, always go and have a look on the landing page of every single supplier. If you're looking at them, there is an integrations tab there. We do encourage our partners to make sure they don't just put who they integrate with, but explain a little bit about the integration as well. So that's always a nice little tip, because just to make sure it works with your packages, obviously we appreciate a real positive there. What else do you take from it, guys? I mean, the normal, I suppose. If you've got a larger lettings operation, the benefits are going to be scaled and multiplied accordingly, aren't they?
Easy for me to say, not running a business, not having the challenges of P&L, but for me at that price point, why wouldn't you? What's the downside to it? As far as I understand, it's a one-off cost from a panel.
So capital outlay, yeah, okay.
And it solves a real problem. Now that real problem might not be an everyday problem, but I doubt there's many agents who don't lose a key once a year. Okay,
Rich, I'm from the world of Proptech, aka Narnia. Like a politician, if I'm asked how much a pint of milk is, I'll say 72 quid. Can you put into context, even as a guesstimate, what does it cost when something goes wrong with a key? I mean, I can appreciate my head that you have to have it recut and everything else.
It depends on your marketplace. So yes, there's a cost to get the key cut. So, I think we can probably say, you've got a chub and a yal and you're not going to get much change from 15 quid anymore. But also you get the master keys and sometimes development on who the freeholder is, you'll have to pay for all of the new tenants. I'd have to change a lock. You might get change of 100 quid. You've then got reputational damage, haven't you? There is nothing worse than picking up a phone call. We all know as agents that the chances are it's, down the back of somebody's seat in their car, or it's lost, and there's going to be it's not going to represent a real risk of somebody breaking in. But for that vendor, I've trusted you to sell my most important asset, and you've just lost a key to my house whilst it's on the internet with the address, with a Matterport video so people know where the TV is, and reputationally, it's a really awkward conversation.
Yeah, okay. And so just looking at the price point again for this, so my understanding is there's a setup fee and then you're paying, do you know what the price is, Rich, just on an ongoing basis?
There's definitely a kerfuffle deal. I believe it's a one-off fee for the panel. And then there's a monthly subscription fee, and I think there's a Kerfuffle deal, but I think it's certainly under £50 a month for each panel.
For each panel. And do we know how many keys they have in the panel? Did he indicate that?
120.
120. Okay, right. So there you go. As all with us, don't take us there. We dip in and out. So go and have a chat with Milton about it. I'm absolutely certain he'll be happy to talk in terms of the commercials, and of course, shout your pink Kerfuffle credentials to get that extra special deal as well there. But yeah, if you're looking at a solution anyway to get the most efficient and organised you possibly can be, again, I think this has to be on the list. Well, I'm going to introduce a new summary for this 3-minute Proptech baby. I'm a big fan of Caesar and other despots. Okay, so can we have on the count of 3, 2, 1 a thumbs up or a thumbs down for this particular live or die? Okay, 3, 2, 1 on KeyWhere. Nice one. There we are.
Before you close, I'd like to suggest an enhancement to it.
Go on. Yes, yeah.
In my garage, I have a camera that I bought off Amazon for about 40 quid. Yeah. And it records and saves to the cloud whenever anybody goes in the garage. Okay. And it has face recognition on it as well. So if I go in the garage, it knows it's me and it doesn't ping my phone. If Marie goes in the garage, it won't ping my phone. If somebody it doesn't recognise goes in my garage, instantly my phone gets an alert. Now, putting a little camera like that on there, you might have GDPR issues to overcome, but putting a camera on a box like that, which gets activated when you take the keys and has face recognition, would be a very sensible enhancement, because if it's got face recognition, they could automatically check out that key to that person, and equally, if it's an unknown person, it could send alerts.
That's a great idea. And what did you say? That camera's worth 40 quid?
Oh, it only cost 40 quid off Amazon, yeah. In fact, it's about 25 now.
Milton, come to us. Those cameras are 70 quid on Kerfuffle. We've got to make some money somewhere. Oh, that's a great idea, Paul. Love that, because actually that's the way a lot of these systems like Ring and that, aren't they? They find them a bit sort of annoying when it keeps pinging off. So they have built that face recognition in precisely for that. If it's a friend of the family, or even they do pets, don't they? With that kind of example, it doesn't do it off. But what a wonderful angle! And that's the. I don't know if I'm misquoting this, but my perception is that when they keep talking about the Internet of Things, that's where all of these convergent technologies start to get quite exciting, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then the next step of that would be selling all the data to China, of course, but that's something separate.
Again, we can help you out with that as well, Will. Whenever you're ready for that.
And one final point, Simon, on that, and I've got absolutely no idea, but is there a conversation that either Milton's having or the agent's having? Is there an opportunity to reduce your insurance costs based on added security levels? They might, my insurance just goes up and up, but there might be a conversation.
Yeah, or at least to go and do all your competitors and put theirs up.
Exactly.
Good stuff. Thank you for that, Milton. Thank you very much for sending that over. You're gone onto the list of Paul's favourite demonstrators, which is wonderful. Anyone else who fancies this sort of 3 men and a Proptech baby? It doesn't really work, does it? Was that I suppose it is Proptech, isn't it? There's tech in there. But suppliers of any nature, if you've got a video you'd like us to give this Gogglebox effect to, please let us know, and we'll be happy to look into this. Gents, I will let you loose, because the pubs are once again, to date stamp this. They're open this week. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Simon.
Cheers, Simon. Cheerio.
Everyone's kerfuffling.